Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Earl Gerald Quinn, episode 830 of the Real Deal Podcast, NBA playoff edition. We are inching closer and closer to the conference finals. Thought that we were going to get one participant last night, but did not happen. We have a lot to, especially Mr. Sapp, who joins us as always on this Wednesday or Thursday, on this Thursday for this week. What's going on, Mr. Sapp? How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well, excited to talk about basketball.
So, like I was saying earlier, like I mentioned earlier, we thought that we were going to get at least one participant in the conference finals, but that was not in the cards. We'll talk about that, but we have to begin with a just classic Game 5 in Boston, between the Celtics and Bucks. This game just had everything. I thought after Game 4 that I had figured out this series. It's like, Milwaukee needs to turn this into like a street fight. Boston is better, at the free flowing. If the more points that are scored, the better that is for Boston from a standpoint of if it's free flowing. And after game 4, you see Boston shoot close to 50%. They had a 43-point fourth quarter. And then you come into this game, and it basically was the same thing. It was basically the same deal. Boston, was on pace for well over 108 points, even at halftime. They were shooting the ball well. You got big performances in terms of scoring wise out of Brown and Tatum, but of course the fourth quarter happened. Basically these games were like the same games 4 and 5. Like Milwaukee for the most part outplayed Boston until the fourth quarter of Game 4 and lost. Boston outplays Milwaukee in Game 5 in the fourth until the fourth quarter, and even deeper into the fourth quarter. 14-point lead with 10 minutes and 28 seconds left, and we saw what happened in those last 3 to 5 minutes. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the game before I get into the particulars of the game? What were your overall thoughts?
Yeah. Here's the big, like, I texted the group chain, can this go 9? Honestly, let's take fandom out of this, like, for real. Like, the thing that I am watching in this series and what I am really admiring about the Celtics team, in particular right now, I'll absolutely get to Milwaukee. For whatever reason, I was talking about this and thinking about it today, in all of our analysis of games, for some reason, fans have forgotten about competition. Like, we talk way too much about adjustments. It ain't about adjustments. These teams are equal. It's just that simple. They're equal, period. Point blank. And so they're equal. They know each other. They know schemes. They know things right there. And one of the favorite things that I think I can't even remember who I was listening to. It doesn't even matter. But it's one of the player podcasts like we were talking about. And what they were saying, it made so much sense and resonated with me, is in a highly competitive series between two teams that are on equal footing, it becomes way less about adjustments that can be made outside of the game, like out on the periphery of it. And then what is it that the players are doing on the floor and on the court? And so when you get a game like this, and you're absolutely right, they're mirrors of each other, it makes 100% sense. When we say outplay, it wasn't like one team was more dominant than the other, right? Like the next game we get to, one team was way more dominant than the other. What we mean is that team was executing their game, dictating their terms of pace to the other team, and the other team's reacting to it. And that's what was going on the Celtics over Bucks in this game. The Celtics were dictating the pace. they were dictating the moves and the Bucks were reacting to it until the very end, where it didn't necessarily change, but two things happened. One, Giannis is Giannis. And like, we just need to just like say it and say it out loud and say it over and over again, no matter how many 50-point games Kevin Durant has during the season, no matter what Kyrie Irving or whatever person mimics James Harden and all the stuff and all the different statistical things that happen. This is about winning now. It is just flat out about winning. And Giannis wins, period, point blank, end of the story. And he wins in dominating fashion. Giannis is the best player in the world. Let's put everything to rest. There is no argument. There are no more debates. There's no anything. He's the best player in the world. He took the title. Anybody who wants it needs to go and win a championship in dominant fashion. Then you get the title. Not before that at all. Not before that. So that is what just like became reality, because he was doing it. He was giving the Celtics work in game 4. He just petered out. And Horford was amazing for some strange reason. But the difference between like Horford equaled that game in game 4, but when you're the best player in the world and when you're dominant, the thing is consistency. Giannis can consistently summon that game. No one else in the series can. That's one. He continued. He kept it going. And then number 2, I'm just going to say this flat out. Any game that ended, and this shows exactly my age and why I am my fandom, I'm 100% okay with it. Any game that ends in 2 defensive possessions is one of the best games I've ever seen. I love it. I loved it. It is flat out just making a play. That's what Holiday did. Just making a play. That had nothing to do with scheme. Doesn't have nothing to do with anything. It's the players on the court, what they see, and their reactions to it. Holiday is better than Smart. Period. In the story. And you saw Smart at the very end when he got cookies for the last thing. I mean, think how many games have ended on a steal. Like, that's amazing. And just a flat out cookies. Got you. Like we out playing at the park with the kids. Just up, that's mine. Game over. Amazing. B, that's just how they making a play and just being better than Smart. And so when I look at this game, there are X's and O's to break down for sure. It's an X and O series. It's beautiful. It's lovely to watch. But also what is elevating this to another level is just the pure competitiveness that is happening. Neither of these teams are willing to give an inch at any moment in the game. There were multiple times in that game where I wanted to say in my head, this is over. But I was like,
I said it. No, I said it multiple times.
I know you did. You were dead ass wrong. I was like, nobody echoed them sentiments. Nobody did. Cause we all knew. No, ain't no way. This is the teams are too equal. Too much pride. Too much competitiveness.
Rob, I'm telling you right now, at 93-79, the way the game was going, I will.
Yeah. Because you didn't equate the competitive in there. You didn't. You didn't complete. Like, these are champions. You have to kill them.
I was fully like, yo, this game is over.
Until that clock hits 0. Nope.
Yeah, I understand. No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you what I was thinking in the moment.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if the Celtics was thinking that, shame on them. Shame on you.
I think. Go ahead.
But that's just kind of like my initial analysis of the game is that this is competition at its highest level, and I can't get enough of it.
So this is a brutal loss for the Celtics. Because you had seized control of the series with what transpired in game 4. Like you said, you get the classic Horford game, the best game he's ever played in his career. And I'll challenge anybody to say he's played a better game. He hasn't. And I've watched Al Horford since he came out of Florida. He has not played a better game like that in his career to go toe-to-toe with Giannis in a game, in a playoff game. And only missed 3 shots, rebound, defend, everything. He did everything. Shot was perfect in the fourth quarter of that game 4, 16 points, made every big play when not Tatum, but when his team needed every one of those points. When Brown was in foul trouble. And then like I said, 93-79, Giannis did what he had to do to keep the team in the game. And I just thought at that point, I was like, he's not getting any help. Giannis can get 40. It's cool, but not, where, and this is where I thought, I said this after the game with our last podcast, where's Milwaukee going to get scoring from? Because Giannis alone is not enough, and it's not. Henceforth, you get the double-double out of Bobby Portis. You get, of course, 24 out of Drew Holiday. You get big shots out of Pat Connaughton, made some big threes. And that team showed you why they are champions. Because they that game again, that game was in the bag. Like that game, it's like, okay, we lose game 5, we'll come back for game 6, win game 6 at home, and then set up a game 7. They had every reason to roll over, to be honest with you. The way the last 2 games have went. Especially the fact that in the fourth quarters of games, even the game Milwaukee won game 3 in the fourth quarters of games 3 and 4, Boston had dominated. So there was no reason for me to think Boston leading going into the fourth quarter that Milwaukee was going to win this game. But what happens is, and this is what I think you're seeing in this. This is why, again, I don't know how everything is on the table for this series. Like I can see Milwaukee closing it out in 6. I can see Boston winning in 7. I can see Milwaukee winning in 7. There's nothing that's off the table for the rest of the series, because to your point, these 2 teams will not die. You have to kill them. You're going to have to kill them. These 2 teams are just they're that evenly matched, and they're that just uber competitive, well coached, and what have you. And what happens with Milwaukee is you see the championship medal come through. You see the fact that they've played, in the last year. You see the fact that they played and they won a game 7 against Brooklyn. You see the fact that they were down 2-0 in multiple series last year. Down 2-0 against Phoenix, won 4 straight. Down 2-0 against Brooklyn, winning in 7. Lose Giannis for the last 2 games of the Atlanta series that was tied. Finish it off in 6 without Giannis. So this to me, this fourth quarter was kind of like a culmination of what Milwaukee has been over the last year. In the playoffs, in last year's playoffs, leading into this year's playoffs. And there's no team right now that I trust more in the big spot. There's no player that I trust more in the big spot than Giannis. Giannis is the best big game player in the league right now. Go look at his numbers in last year's game 5. Go look at what he did in game 7 against Brooklyn. Go look at what he did in game 6 against Phoenix. We all know about the 50-point performance. He's going to find a way. And there's nothing but there's I can't. Can we please
when you say best player in the world, there's nothing.
No. Forget that. I've been saying that for the last 2 years.
I know. I'm just saying there's just nothing.
Most people were late to that party. I was on that part. I was early to that party. But in this series,
I was late to the party. I was.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That 50-point game close
Yeah,
out.
that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
There is nothing else you need to prove to me at all.
I keep hearing. How tough Boston has made it on him, and how well they guard him. And I'm like, bruh, he's averaging 33, basically 33, 13, and 7, and playing great defense. What are we talking about here?
They're doing the best they can.
They're doing the best they can, but he's dominated the series. Like outside of game 2, outside that first half of game 2 where he had 5 points, he has dominated the series. Period.
End of story.
That's it. And that's what all-time greats do.
That's exactly what they do.
That's what LeBron's, that's what Kobe's, that's what Jordan's, that's what they do. Magic Johnson, whoever, I think he's headed. That's another conversation, but his ceiling to me is headed towards being a top tier all time great. He's headed there. He's coming quickly from that standpoint, because what he has that, say, a Joel Embiid doesn't have, he has perspective. He has perspective on, you listen to his press conferences. He never gets too high, never gets too low. It's always about the team. It's always about, hey, what can I do to get better? How can I lead my team? No fear. Y'all say I can't shoot threes, whatever. I hit the biggest three. The biggest shot in the game was 105-99 when he cut it in half. That was the biggest shot in the game. If he misses that shot, they don't win the game. They're not even positioned to win the game. You know? So you're talking about we're talking about a guy who not only is the best in terms of physically, the most physically imposing player in the league, the mental.
That's how you get great. That's how you get great.
That's what separates him right now as well.
That's how you get great.
His mental approach to the game, how he sees the game, how he views the game, how he leads that franchise. And I think at the end of this series, what we're going to see is there's not going to be so much of what Boston did not do. We're going to be like, you know what, Boston is close, but they're not quite there, which is fine. It's part of the process. Like, it's part of like Boston has conference finals experience. Milwaukee has championship experience, and that's a difference. So I'm not saying that the series is over. I would never count Boston out. What I'm telling you is, you're talking about a team that it's the hardest thing in sports is to learn how to win. It's very difficult at a high level, at a championship level. This is a championship. This is an NBA Finals caliber series. These two teams are this literally could be the NBA Finals. I think, like I said, I said it before the series. The winner, and I'm dead confident based on what I saw last night, that the winner of this series is going to win the chip. This is how I feel. So like I said earlier, you got 60 out of Tatum and Brown. Up until the last minute, Marcus Smart was actually playing a great game up until the last minute. You had and even Al Horford last night, he came back down to earth, but Al Horford was still, 6 assists, 8 rebounds. Still, Giannis.
Everything was fine. Everybody had a good.
Horford was fine. Yeah, Horford was fine. Horford was fine for the most part.
There were no complaints. Honestly, there were no complaints.
So
they just made winning plays at the end of the game.
So here's the last minute. I'm gonna contrast the last minute of Drew Holiday versus the last minute of Marcus Smart. Drew Holiday, game tying 3. Drew Holiday, block, save. Drew Holiday steals the ball. Marcus Smart, turnover. Marcus Smart, shot blocked. Misses Tatum on that last play. If you notice, on that last play where he was dribbling it up and he got stripped by Drew Holiday, Tatum was actually wide open streaking down the court. And then, of course, he misses Tatum and, of course, a turnover. So in 1 minute, Marcus Smart went from one of the heroes to an absolute GOAT. In 1 minute, Marcus Smart made a number of big threes in that game and good defensive plays. But it just, winning, it just shows you how fragile it is between winning and losing, man. It can dissipate quickly. Like, it can go bad quickly. And man, Marcus Smart had a rough 1 minute. That's a rough 60 seconds. I mean, like we were on a group text, and I was like, he had a Carlton Banks moment off the Fresh Prince. If you remember the episode with the when they were playing basketball, when they had a game, and he didn't pass. He tried to be a hero and didn't pass the ball to Will, and it didn't go well. And like in those moments, you gotta find Tatum has to get the ball. Like, what are we doing? Tatum is their go-to player down the stretch. Tatum or Jaylen Brown. You have 2 legit go-to players who I would feel confident in terms of shooting the ball. I know Smart has been better with his playmaking this year, and that's one of the reasons why they improved and are at the point they are right now. But the bottom line is, in those moments at the end of the game, I want the ball in either Jason Tatum's hands or Jaylen Brown's hands. Period. So, that's a rough one for the Celtics. That that's one of those games where you'll if you have championship aspirations for the future that you can learn if they don't win this series that you can learn from. That's what that's like. It kind of remind me like going like way back, and I mean way back when you had Detroit trying to barge into trying to break through against Boston with Bird in them, and you had Bird steals the ball, Isaiah throws the ball away, and Bird steals it. They end up winning that
I
series.
watched something where they were talking about that the other
Yeah,
day.
it had that. This
Yeah.
had that type of feel to it. Like you
Yeah.
had one team that was right there as far as
Yeah.
being a contender versus a team that had already been there, and already won championships, and there is a difference. Period. There's a difference.
There is, but you have to beat that team to get
to that place. Yes.
Get to that place.
Yes.
It's just that like all these things are actually really simple. It's really simple. We're making them way more complicated. As when you have two good teams going at each other, you don't have to have like expert all this analysis and all that. We're making it way more complicated than it is. The reason why Marcus Smart did hit Jason Tatum was because Holiday was in his face and he's worried about it. The reason that the Celtics weren't excited about either Brown or
Tatum
getting that ball earlier in that possession is because they were worried that Giannis or particularly Holiday would make them look stupid as well. These boys are animals. They're beasts. And I think, to your point, if they had to do all over again, you put the ball in Tatum's hand and you just live with it.
Yes.
And if it's cookies on Tatum, then it's cookies on Tatum.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit different when it's cookies on Smart. Absolutely.
Well, no, I'm not even talking. I'm not so.
Well, I know. I know you're not. But
I'm not talking about the very last play. I'm talking about
those
the play.
Those exact same plays could have been made. Those exact same things that happened to Smart absolutely could have happened to either Brown,
yes,
or Tate.
But I read it.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like the optics of everything just are different in this. But to your point, it legit boils down to this: they are champions that are not. They are champions that have just arrived. They are not by damn sight ready to shift down again.
No.
And you have up and coming, and they want it. And so you got somebody who wants to keep it and somebody who really wants it. And neither one is giving an inch. And that's what makes classic series and classic games.
Listen, contrast to the other team that we're going to talk about who also has championship experience. They want to keep Boston underneath them. Now we'll talk. We definitely going to deep dive Memphis and Golden State. If you're Giannis and if to me, this is what this. I mean, I can't get into Giannis's head, but I'm saying to myself, if I'm Milwaukee, I'm like, yo, do you know how much of a stranglehold we would have over them mentally moving forward if we beat them without Chris Middleton?
I don't think that's the issue, real, to be honest with you. I don't think that. I mean, I think it's mentally fortifying for them. I think that's what they can tell themselves, win, lose, or draw, is that we did all this and we didn't even have one of our best players. So Milwaukee right there, I think this journey with the Celtics, knowing it fairly well, this journey with the Celtics.
No, I'm talking about Milwaukee. I'm talking about Milwaukee's perspective. I'm talking about the Celtics.
I know, but what I'm saying is journey for the Celtics is about the Celtics finding themselves. It doesn't actually have anything to do with what Milwaukee can mentally do to them. Sweeping Brooklyn, going toe-to-toe with the world champions, they're in a good place. No.
I don't think this will be like if Milwaukee were to win the series, like this will that Boston's going away. But my point is, when you are the champion, right, and we see this with the Bulls all the time, you want to keep your opponents, your these quote unquote rivalries, the Knicks, the Pacers at bay, and remind them you are not on our level. You're not you cannot beat us. Like there is a psychological component. Until you actually beat us, you don't believe you can beat us until you actually do it. So there is a psychological component to that. In my opinion.
Yep, I hear what you're saying.
But like I said, everything's off the everything's on the table for this series as far as like I said, I can see Milwaukee winning tomorrow. I can see Boston winning tomorrow. I can see everything's on the table. There's nothing that will surprise me moving forward for the rest of the series? What are your thoughts on the rest of the series?
Yeah. Because I started to go to that place that you were talking about, where it's just like, will Boston be mentally whipped by the? This is a gut wrencher. Right. Will they be mentally whipped? And then I listened to the press and watched it, everything like that. I was like, nah, they're gonna come back out and fight. Yeah. And so is Milwaukee.
Yes.
And so and then they'll be at home. I want to stick with Game 7 because I want it so bad.
Yep.
But this is one also, heart of hearts, I don't have an idea, right? Like I'm with you 100%. Like heart of hearts. Usually when I go like, okay, what do you really feel? Like usually I know. I can say whatever out loud, but usually I know. Especially when it's my team, right? Like right. I know. And so I'm not saying either one is my team. I'm just saying in my heart of hearts, when I look at this series, I just don't have it. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
To that point, Rob.
Could I easily see Milwaukee winning? Not Milwaukee winning easily, but could I easily envision how Milwaukee wins in Game 6? Absolutely. Can I envision how the Celtics win in Game 6? Absolutely, I can. And then can I see either one of those teams coming out in Game 7? Absolutely. It is a much more difficult task for the Celtics to win 2 in a row. That I will say.
Yes. No, that's why. I mean, history says the Game 5 winner wins this series.
I say Game 7. If you put me to the test, which you are, I say Game 7, Milwaukee wins.
Got you. Yep. Listen, this is how unpredictable this series has been from a standpoint of where we thought it was going. After Game 3, right? Or no, after Game 2, we did a podcast after Game 2, and we both agreed that this was going to be a knockdown, drag-out defensive struggle, and points were going to be at a premium. In reality, in Games 4, 5, the offenses have actually stepped up.
What I loved about that game was that it was an offensive game for 3 quarters, and then it switched into a dominant deal. I was like, yo, they're playing 2 different games.
Yeah, so to your point, though,
counter punch, not just in shot making, but in defensive rotation. So I was like, yo,
that game, but it had, in order for Milwaukee to have won that game, it had to slow down to that point. They could not keep up. Like the game, it was 86-77 after 3 quarters was too many points. That was too many. That was too much. So that game, Boston, I think
that's the time I felt the most confident for Boston. I was like, this is totally Boston's game. They're playing completely their style.
Boston scored like 9 points in the last 8 minutes. So and they had a lot of bad turnovers. So one thing that really stood out to me, and Pat Riley used to say this all the time with Miami and New York: no rebounds, no rings. Milwaukee destroyed them on the offensive glass. Milwaukee for the game out-rebounded them like 49-36, 17-5 on the offensive glass, 7-1 in the fourth quarter. 7 offensive rebounds to Boston's 1. If you don't rebound in the fourth quarter, if you give up offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter of a playoff game, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. I mean, chances are you are going, unless it's a blowout.
I was talking real greasy about Bobby Portis.
Yes,
and my man came out with a hell of an offensive rebound.
Yeah, he redeemed himself after missing that layup.
That was real greasy about him. I was like, okay, Bobby P, show your value.
Yeah, man, they did, listen, one of the great shots in NBA history came off of offensive rebound. That was the Ray Allen 3-pointer in Miami San Antonio. Get out there. Chris Bosh gets offensive rebound, kicks it out to Ray Allen, and the rest was history. And well, it certainly didn't help that, Hall of Fame power forward was on the bench. Greg Popovich.
Things that actually matter to players and coaches, not shit that people can report on and talk about with DVOA and all this other stuff. Things that actually matter to players and coaches are turnovers and rebounds.
Yes.
Hustle, loose balls. Are you going for them? Who's getting those? That's the shit that actually matters about winning. Remember, we're talking about winning a championship, not looking good.
Right.
Not being the most
efficient,
stylized.
No.
revolutionary team. No, damn that. Win this game.
Yeah. I
Any
mean,
means necessary. If it ends on a strip,
that's how it is.
on a strip.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, listen, those
beautiful way to win.
you remember those Bulls teams, especially those last 3 years when they had Rodman and they were really defensive minded. They used to kill people. They used to kill people on the glass, kill them like on the offensive glass. I mean, destroy them. There'll be games where they literally shot like 40%, but it didn't matter because they out rebounded you by 15.
That's the thing I'm still waiting on in this series. Minute and a half left. Tatum versus Giannis. Best on best. Who's guarding who?
Yeah, Tatum's not quite there yet. He's not quite there. He's coming, but he's just like he's not consistently great. Like he'll put up some numbers, but
that's what you gotta do it. Like we forget, come on.
Yeah.
Me and you we're 80s, 90s.
Yes.
Legends, like damn all this other BS. Legends were made in the playoffs and championship. Yep. So you gotta do it. You're right. He's not there yet, but you gotta do it.
Because truly, I mean, coming into last night, Al Horford had been their best player.
The only way you get there is by doing it in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yeah.
Damn all this other stuff. I'm just so tired of regular season and he's the greatest at every. No, do it now.
Yeah.
Now is the time to do it.
Yeah, but certainly
this is where your legend should be made.
Yes. Looking forward to game 6 on Friday back at Pfizer, back in Milwaukee. We'll see if they can close it out and advance to their second straight conference finals. Whoop them Warriors. So watch the first half of this game, and that was all I needed to see. So to give you some
y'all are irritating me so much with the dings. I was mad at those dings because I was falling asleep. I was ready to go.
So the Warriors listen, the Warriors at one point were down by as many as 55 points. They lose by 39. It wasn't that close. Of course, no Ja Morant. He's probably done for the playoffs with the bone bruise. Just one of the most confounding losses that I remember a team that has championship medal in recent memory. I was really like scrambling trying to think of how bad of a loss this was, considering the circumstances and considering what's at stake. You have aspirations to win a championship, right? You are up 3-1. You're not a young team, so you can obviously use the rest. And you're playing a team without their best player. A team that by the way, is not going to quit. They almost beat you in game 4 without their best player. They should have won game 4, really. I mean, Memphis blew that in the last quarter. They absolutely should have won that game. So I just didn't understand the mental approach that the Warriors came with. I'm not a Warriors fan by any stretch of imagination. We all know it, but I was, as a basketball fan, as somebody who watched basketball my whole life, I was kind of like disrespected. I kind of felt like insulted by that performance last night. That's how bad it was. I know you have all the thoughts.
Oh, so many.
I'm about to give the ball to ISO Sapp.
Yep. ISO. Pass you the ball. Right, get out the way. I don't need no screen. So this is I'll walk you through all my exact thoughts. Because this makes me so happy. So I'm watching the game, and in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm done with this series when Ja Morant is out. Like I enjoy watching, so I'm done with this series. So whatever. Like if I fall asleep on this game, I'm fine with it. So the time where I really started out, because y'all was dinging, it kept waking me up or kept me up. I like my eyes really started closed when the score was, I think 55-36, something like that. It was like double digit at that point, middle second quarter.
Right.
And so I'm like my eyes are closing, and this was my exact thought. I was like, the Warriors look like they're playing with their food. I wholly expect to wake up and find out that they won. But boy, if they didn't win. if they don't win, this is going to be a horrible loss for them. When I looked at that score that morning in RIL and then watched the replay of it, I honestly couldn't believe what I was looking at first. I was like, I cannot believe they didn't show any heart. Like, I can't believe that. You know how I feel about closeouts games without the other superstar. This is why Harden is trash to me.
Yep.
For this exact same reason. A closeout game against a team without their best player. You may not lose that game. You may not lose that game. Here's what cannot ever happen is that you let that team beat you into submission. So RIL, they waved the white flag in the middle of the third quarter.
Yeah.
You should be ashamed. We talk, that's the opposite of competition. That's the opposite. And to your point, that's why you feel so disrespected. You didn't compete. What the F is going on? This is the playoffs. It's a closeout game. They don't have their best player. It's inexcusable. This is the exact same thing I said about James Harden. It's inexcusable. You cannot excuse this. The only thing that you say is we were horrible. We're the worst. That was shameful. We're sorry. We will put out a better performance next time. That's it. Nothing else is acceptable. No other explanation is acceptable. You may not lose this game. You may not lose this game. And the more that I thought about it, and I was initially irritated because of fans. I'm not as irritated at the fans because they're just being their selves. Warriors, I'll be on the record. Like I said, I'm here for the smoke. Warriors fans are the worst because they're front runners to the nth degree.
Yep.
They're worse than Miami fans, for lack of a better way to break it down, because Miami's actually congealed into a fan base. Like when LeBron and Dwayne, all of them came, Miami fans. But just like in terms of just like eyes on like superstars, the fans just have unrealistic thoughts about the players on their teams. Let's just keep it at that. But then I think about the play on the court. And when I watched that game over again, I was watching the play on the court. I just got more and more irritated with what I was actually seeing that was happening. I kept like when we talked about the Bucks and like I think it was game 3, when I was like, oh, they predetermined the outcome of this victory. Oh no, it was game 2.
Game 2.
Game 2. And it was a mistake because Marcus Smart was out. But they already got the stole home court. They already got one in that, right? Like so I've seen plenty of examples where the team that had already gotten one had downshifted gear, and of course the other team is playing from desperation, right? Like so that was not this. If anybody wants to hold that against me, that was not this. This was a team that legit thought that all that had to happen was the ball be rolled out on the court and they win. And I'm unclear what gave them that thought process at all. Then Grizzlies, to their infinite credit, said, we're just going to beat the hell out of you. And, you know, the old adage goes, you give a team that shouldn't be in it any life, and then you're in trouble. And that's exactly what the Warriors did. And not only did the Grizzlies say, hey, we can actually win this game, they said, nope, we're going to beat the hell out of you. And we're just going to keep beating you until the clock is 0. And that's when I flipped. I could not have been more excited to see that, as they just hit shot after shot after shot after shot and just murdered them in the third quarter, you know. And I found it very ironic, right? That was always the Warriors'
Big
quarter
Yep.
where they did, and for that to happen with them, and again without their best player. I don't care what mental gymnastics you do to try to make this Grizzlies team better without Ja.
They're not better without Ja.
They're not.
Period.
And bye with that. That's crazy talk. So you got beat by like the actual score. You're right. It's not indicative.
It was a 55-point game. It could have been worse.
Lead was indicative much worse. You got beat by 55.
Yes.
That's what I remember. And that's what I'll always remember.
Yeah.
You got beat by 55 by a team, a young, reckless team without their best player. And you are the veteran, tested through all the things. Like, there are no words to express how inexcusable that is.
Here's the thing, Sapp. That's what I don't understand. So I thought about the 2000 Lakers, right? The first championship with Shaq and Kobe. If people want to remember, regular season, they dominated. It was 67-15. Shaq, unanimous MVP, or should have been unanimous. One dude voted for Allen Iverson, whatever. Yeah, Fred Hickman voted for Allen Iverson, but whatever.
Let it go, real.
Yeah, Shaq hasn't let it go. I'm cool, but I just mentioned.
I'm saying you let. That's what I'm saying to you. Let it go. Shaq's still beefing about Nash's MVP. He don't let nothing.
He will never let that go. But they struggled in the playoffs. They went 16-7. They had 7 losses in the playoffs. I remember them allowing the Sacramento Kings, who at the time were not just a fun team that just liked to play offense. I remember them pushing the Lakers to 5 games in a series that had no business going to 5 games. I remember the Lakers almost blowing a 3-1 lead against Portland Trailblazers and being down by 13 going into the fourth quarter, game 7. Like that, they literally were almost out the playoffs for that particular game. If Portland went to pull off one of the great choke jobs of all time, even against Indiana, they're up 3-1 in the series, and then they proceed to just mail in game 5 and say we'll win in game 6, which they did, and they lost by like 35 points. So they had those moments, but the difference is they hadn't won anything as a group.
They had to learn how to win.
But they had to learn how to win. I don't get Golden State from the standpoint of your core has won 3 championships.
Yeah, no, they don't.
And I don't get from the standpoint of how did your approach shift mid-series. The first 4 games of this series, Golden State's approach was perfect. We're going to come out, knock them, hit them in the mouth game 1, steal game 1, which they did, put the pressure on them and almost win game 2, destroy them in game 3, which they did, and then game 4 happened. And I'm like, what happened? Like, what shifted the mindset?
To your point, real, like what you were saying in the last series, this is actually a series where, like, because you're like your head stars on the Warriors are so advanced mentally in this game and in championship playoff experience, you can actually spend the time and energy mentally effing with the other team, and the other team so inferior to you talent-wise. You can actually spend that. So to your point, this is the team you want to be mentally effing with so they don't get the idea that they can come up in the next couple of years.
I'm glad
because Ja ain't going nowhere.
I'm glad you bring up that point. So a couple things. Before we get to a couple things.
Now, it don't matter what happens next game.
No, there are a couple things before we get to that. One, I think from a Warrior standpoint, there is
game 6 without our best player. Sorry.
I think from the Warrior standpoint, I think here's the thing. I keep hearing about all this championship DNA. Cool. But the bottom line is this group as a whole hasn't won anything.
There you go. Talk to them.
Okay. Let's keep it a buck, right?
Preach.
Let's keep it a buck. This group has a whole
championships. I remember it being Kevin Durant.
No, hold on. Even before that, let's be.
No, they got one.
No. My point. No, this is my point. This
no. I was just even saying, keep going with your point.
This group as a whole hasn't won anything, right?
Yep.
And the bottom line is they're not as good. They definitely. I mean, they clearly aren't as good as the team that won that from the Kevin Durant team. We know that They're not as good as the team before Kevin Durant. When Steph
Nope.
and Clay were younger and Draymond was younger,
Nope.
and Iguodala doesn't even play no more. So they're not as good as that team. This is a very, very good team. This is a very good team that I thought before last night was capable of possibly winning a championship. I no longer think that. This team is not going to win a championship. Period. Even if they win this series,
they got to prove. They got a lot to prove now.
They're not winning a championship. They're not.
That benefit down is gone.
They're not. And they were my preseason pick to go to the finals to face Milwaukee. I picked Milwaukee to win the whole thing before the season started.
After a game like that,
no,
that game has.
And I think, Rob, what it is, I think that there is this incentive. I think that there's this sense of entitlement as far as like,
and this
we can turn it on.
Yep.
Yeah, we can turn it on. We can just walk on the court. This young team, they've never been there. Like we can, we can just turn it on, and like, nah, that's not. You are not. The gap between you and the rest of the league that doesn't exist anymore.
It's nothing.
There's nothing. No, matter of fact,
you don't have the cheat code.
No, you don't have the right. You don't have the matter of fact. Like a healthy Milwaukee and fucking Phoenix probably are better teams.
Not according to some fans.
Yeah, well, yeah. So there's no more cheat. There's no more cheat code. I mean, the thing is, like, let's be honest. Steph, Draymond, and Clay are not spring chickens.
They are not.
They're not.
They have gotten older.
They've gotten older.
Yep, that happened.
And getting back, let me get back to the point that you were about to make about giving Memphis confidence. You have sped up their arrival. If I'm Memphis, I'm like, yo, first of all, I'll give you this number right here in terms of this series. So in terms of Memphis in this series, in terms of minutes led, Memphis has led 182 minutes compared to Golden State's 58. Think about that. 182 to 58. So if I'm Memphis, I'm like, yo, we should be winning the series. If I'm Memphis, I'm like, yo, we're better. If I'm Memphis, I fully believe. If I'm Memphis, I'm a player in that locker room. I fully believe that we can win this series. Fully believe it.
Yeah.
And even if we don't win it, we get Jai back next year. We get some veterans. We get a couple of veterans that say won championships. We will beat you. Like you have like this type of loss is like. I think I want the audience to understand. It is so this thing right here this thing right here as far as sports is so psychological and so much mental. Like I said, you have instilled confidence in a team that didn't need to that didn't need it. They already think they the shit.
Yep.
Like Memphis didn't even need any more confidence. They already believe that they belong.
Nothing.
So
you about some of that shit, you wouldn't be able to tell me nothing. You really wouldn't.
No.
There'd be no way.
No.
There'd be no way. I'm like, Golden State ain't nothing.
No, right. Like
give us
we better than them.
Go whoop their ass. Yeah. Yeah. They have all the confidence. All of it. So
I'm telling you right now, I still like Golden State in this series, but I'm telling you right now, man, nothing. I said it with Boston and Milwaukee. Nothing. I was saying for this series as well. Nothing's off the table. Nothing's off the table. I would not be surprised if Memphis won Game 6 and wrapped it up in Game 1, Game 7, even without Jai. That would not. It would not shock me. I'm sorry. It would not shock me. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm telling you right now, the way the Warriors have played the last 2 games, their mental approach. It's more about their mental approach that bothers me. Like what?
Yep.
This is not a championship approach. This is not.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix is not letting that shit happen. You think you're gonna allow Phoenix? You think Phoenix is gonna let Dallas come into their building in Game 5 and take that and smack them around like that? Even if it was 3-1, the series would be over. This is what is not going to happen. So, or lose by 40 points. No, it would have to be some. Luka had to go for like 50 and had to hit a buzzer beater off one leg, some just crazy, or Chris Paul foul out like he did in 5 minutes, like in basically 3 quarters. Just some wild, crazy shit would have to happen. They're not going to allow you.
It's inexcusable. No, nobody's doing that.
It's no, yeah, like no, it's
inexcusable.
beyond inexcusable. Yes, it's beyond inexcusable. Like it's
just inexcusable because like somebody like immediately talked about last year I think it was Brooklyn blew out Milwaukee, right? In one of those games. And we see blowouts in series all the time.
Happen. That happens
all the time. That's the ebb and flow of a series. That's neither here nor there. The thing that made this different, it was a closeout game.
Yes.
Without their best player.
Yes, period.
I can't hear those words and then hear blowout. No. I can't hear those words and hear blowout. I just can't.
No.
Not in the playoffs, not when you're the veteran team. Or at least the players, most of your star players are veteran players. I can't hear that.
No.
It's just inexcusable to me. And it should be inexcusable to anybody. It just should be inexcusable. That can't happen. It just can't happen. And to your point, it totally changes how I look at the Warriors.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It totally changes that.
Oh, yeah.
I 100% expect Phoenix to give them that work. They better win this series. It's just that simple. They better win this series. I'm not going to contemplate them losing because shop is closed if they lose this series.
Right.
We going to have all different types of conversations.
Right.
So in lieu of going down that road, they better win that series. But then I will 100% expect Phoenix to give them that work.
Yep.
Because Phoenix is not Memphis.
No.
Intellectually.
No.
They're just not Memphis.
No.
So all of the whatever you've been able, and to your point, Memphis has been all over them most of the series. But whatever you've been able to get from them, a lot of that is because of your basketball acumen. You will not have that advantage at all. As a matter of fact, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah. No.
Against Phoenix. So, okay. So it's like, yep.
Yeah, I think.
But now I put you far below Phoenix. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually before the playoffs, I actually was thinking about that matchup because I actually thought was looking forward to it from a standpoint of I actually thought Golden State matched up well against Phoenix, to be honest with you, before the playoffs. But yeah, after a game like that, the way they're playing right now, like they're not. No, that's just no. Injuries withstanding, no, they can't mess with Phoenix. They just can't. They no. Like it's just not. It will not happen. So we'll see what happens. Of course, tonight we have a couple of game sixes. A couple of series could end in regards to Miami, Philly, and Dallas, Phoenix. Let's talk about the Philly Embiid because I fully expected Miami to beat Philly in Game 5. There was no way James Harden was going to have back-to-back great games. And Miami's at home. They're a better team, blah, blah, blah. But for your best player in Joel Embiid to come out there and completely lay an egg. Again, I don't you heard TNT Barkley talking about, he was in his feelings about the MVP. I don't give a shit what the reason was for it. I don't know. I really don't. It doesn't even matter what the reason was, to be honest with you. The bottom line is you are their best player. You have been one of the best players in the league this year. You're a legit top 5 player. You came back in the series, changed the series. Game 3, Harden did what he did in Game 4. I no longer want to hear anything about Joel Embiid and MVP in the same conversation. I don't want to hear those words. I don't care what he does in the regular season. Like, we can look at him in the postseason, his postseason career. We can look at, throwing Ben Simmons under the bus after the Game 7 against Atlanta. He is everything that Giannis is not. From a skill standpoint, he might even be more skilled than Giannis, to be honest with you. But the difference is mental. He's not a leader. He's not, besides the health, not being able to stay healthy, which is another issue.
That honestly
That even might be a bigger issue.
Yeah,
that's number one, actually. Can't stay on the floor.
For me.
But that's part of that. But part of the reason why he hasn't been able to stay on the floor because he hadn't had to take care of his body. That's mental. So yeah, those two are connected because he had been spent most of his career, a lot of his career out of shape. But I just don't want to hear, and we'll get to this about the MVP narrative. I don't want to hear that this guy should have been the MVP. And no, I guarantee you, there's no fucking way that either Jokic or Giannis come out there and play a game 5 like Embiid played. I promise you. Jokic, I watched it. There's zero chance. Zero. Even in defeat, Jokic was lighting Golden State up. Even in defeat. And of course, Giannis is Giannis. So again, don't want to hear about Embiid. I don't want to hear about how great Joel Embiid is. I'm sorry. I got he's at the point where I'm off. I am done with I'm off the Embiid stock. I don't want to hear it anymore about this dude because he had an opportunity, even in defeat, even if they lost the game, if he goes out there 25-10, keeps the game close, all right, we'll be back in game 5, game 6 at home, cool. But to go out there and to basically be non-existent, the first half 6 points, really? And by the way, I haven't talked about because it's like watching the JV versus varsity. When you watch Miami and Philly versus Boston and Milwaukee, oh my, the level of play is just the different. The drop off is stark. Like it's really like I said, it's the varsity versus the JV when you watch those two series, contrasted series. It really, it's hard. The game's almost hard to watch, to be honest with you. These two. I haven't been impressed with Miami at all. I don't even think Miami's that good. I mean, I actually think Philly.
Miami's Miami. Miami's always Miami.
I like right now. I'm looking at Miami. Butler's been amazing. Butler has been legitimately one of the top 5 players in the playoffs. He's been great. Outside of that, Bam has been decent. Duncan Robinson can't get on the floor. Hero's been inconsistent. They really don't have. They have a bunch of guys who sometimes come up, sometimes come up, show up, sometimes don't. They haven't played. Miami hasn't played well against Philly in this round. Like this, I mean, Philly could have. This was a very winnable series to Philadelphia. To be honest with you, to be perfectly honest with you, if Joel was that dude, if he really was that dude, they could win this series.
Does he play those first 2 games in this series that you're talking about?
If he played these first 2 games, yes. They could absolutely win the series if he had played those first 2 games.
I agree with.
I really do. Yes, I 100% believe that they could have won the series if he plays those first 2 games. But ultimately, the
talent gap isn't significant.
No.
Yeah, you're
Philly
right.
has more talent. No. Philly actually has more talent than Miami. Miami's just better coach, and Miami again is going to be the more
mentally tough players that want to play and want to be on the court and want to compete at a high level.
Yes. Period.
For 48 minutes.
For 48 minutes. Yes.
For the time.
Yeah.
Yep. That actually kind of means something. It really does. It really, really does. I don't know why we forgot that it meant something, but it really does. It really does.
But again, getting back to my original point, I don't want to hear anything about Joel. I don't care if Joel Embiid next year averages 40 in the regular season. I don't care. It's at the point where it's either put up or shut up in the postseason.
Well, that's also what I was going to ask. Like the MVP to me, especially recently, in the NBA, I've always felt this way in football. If you think about it, if you match MVP seasons to Super Bowl wins, they don't match up at all.
No.
But basketball has been different. But I would say in the last decade, since that Nash double MVP, right? I'm trying to think, like, I wonder if we go back and look at the list of MVPs, because Shaq's main complaint is that him and Kobe only have one, yet they won multiple championships.
Yes.
But so then that's my question. Is the MVP just a true regular season award? And actually that means very little when it comes to playoff prediction.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't mean anything when it comes to the playoffs, because like there's so many things that you need to win a championship. And I think Kobe should have more than one MVP. Like
Of
that,
course.
like I just think that
Of course.
I mean, I'm not going to say he should have 4 or 5. I thought he should have at least 2. I thought that year he averaged 35 and scored 81 when he dragged fucking Smush Parker and Kwame Brown to the playoffs as a 7th seed. I thought he was the MVP that year. The year Nash won in 06, I thought Kobe was the MVP. But for the most part, I think the writers have gotten the MVP right as far as when you look at the numbers. Of course, there are always going to be some cases where you say, hey, so-and-so, the second person could have won, third person could have won, of course. But for the most part, they've gotten it right. Since the writers took over in the 80s, late in 1980, for the most part, they've gotten it right. Like I've heard people go back to 1990 with Magic and Barkley and say Barkley should have won. And I'm like, did we ever think that Barkley was ever a better player than Magic Johnson? No. So please, I don't want to hear that one doesn't stay. I think prime Magic probably should have 3 MVPs and he should have won in 1990. So you'll hear some arguments. You'll hear the LeBron stands say LeBron should have 12 MVPs, and when LeBron has taken off numerous regular seasons to get ready for the playoffs and not play defense at all, which is fine. So, but we might as well get to it now before we get to Dallas. Well, no, we'll save it. We'll say that.
But I got a little. I want to chime in on this one.
Go ahead.
I have never gotten the obsession with Embiid. Never, ever.
Okay, yeah, I know you never know. You know,
no,
you're
not
Embiid.
Never got the obsession at all with him.
No.
You I'm very nuts and bolts when it comes to sports teams.
Yep.
And if you can't stay on the court, then I don't care how talented you are. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
No.
Because you actually have to be on the court to show that skill set. And consistency means something.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Philly to me is like the New York Knicks. It's so much noise for so very little winning.
Yep.
So very little winning.
Yep.
And so to your point, I really don't want to hear anything about Philadelphia until they win the championship.
I agree. I agree.
Because
it's funny that you bring up that point. It's funny that you bring up that point because they said on TNT Inside the NBA, they were like, Kenny Smith was like, "Hey, if you win a championship, the MVPs will come."
Absolutely.
That's by the way, again, I don't know why Joel Embiid played like shit, but I do know this: I've seen players who thought they got snubbed from the MVP absolutely go out and destroy the playoffs. I saw Jordan do it. I saw the most recent one that I remember. We remember this one. Fucking Hakeem Olajuwon changed the course of David Robinson's career. He basically ended David Robinson's career as a great player. Like if you look at after that series was over, David Robinson was never considered amongst the best players in the league. That was it. Forget about best center. Even like David Robinson's career went downhill after that. Like that's how bad that ass whooping was. So if you're going to take it personal,
are you listening, Warriors? You listening?
Yes. Don't go out and score 6 points. Go out and put 35 and 20 and say, look, let your play say you're the MVP. Like I've never seen a guy be annoyed by not winning the MVP and then go out and score like 17 points. Like a great player, a so-called great player. I've never seen it. He basically, like I said, he did the Hakeem in reverse. So like, if you're gonna be pissed about not winning MVP, again, I watched his press conference after the game. He didn't complain about it. He actually did. He did complain about it. He gave Jokic and Giannis their props. He said that, but then he went to, and Bill Simmons has been, a hot topic over the last month about this Jalen Green comment. He said, yeah, I heard a podcast of Bill Simmons say, fuck Jalen Green. So I don't think guys like that should have a vote. Blah, blah, blah. And you guys made it into like, I don't, he said, I don't know what I have to do. It's about a narrative and blah, 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 blah. So he was pissed off. He was.
See, here's the point though, also. Like, it's not necessarily that he's worried about like how good his game is versus other people. It's about like those comments were about his money. right? Like that is different in terms of like he's talking about how much he can earn in Supermax, or at least that's my.
No. He's gonna get he all you got to do is be on the All NBA.
Of course he's gonna get the
Supermax. He doesn't need MVP for Supermax.
Of course he's gonna get the Supermax. You know what? I'll back off of that.
Yeah, no, he's not talking.
I'll back off of that.
My last thing about Embiid,
but that's generally what I hear around the complaints about people.
Right. No, I get that. No, but I get that. No, I get that. That writers should not have control over a guy making All NBA and stuff like that. These awards. Yeah, no, I get. I totally get that. But again, like I said to you last couple podcasts ago, go talk to your collective, go talk to your players union and CBA. Go negotiate that with the owners and what have you in the rest in the NBA and the next CBA. That's what I'll say to that. It's not the writers' fault. They didn't make up that policy.
I really have a sneaking suspicion if the voting was in the players' hands.
That should be a disaster. It'd
be a disaster, but just from his point, you're not getting the MVP from the players.
No.
So I don't know who's giving him that MVP, to be honest with you.
He's respected around the league. He might have won it. I actually think he might have won it.
Maybe
Jokic is the one.
The players?
The players don't like Jokic.
No. That part, yes. No, Jokic is not getting it.
No, Jokic is definitely not getting it.
I think the players
probably Giannis. I think probably Giannis. Probably Giannis would have got it.
Players give it to Giannis. My point being, like, yeah, you could come at the writers all you want on this, but again, the reason why you're not getting the MVP votes is because people see the inconsistency in your play. And a big part of that inconsistency is, you're a beast when you're on the court. But we can count on 20 games a season and getting worse, and then that happening in the playoffs somewhere. So that can't be my MVP.
No, I think you know how I somewhat compare Embiid to, and he's not as accomplished as this guy, but there are some similar traits. Aaron Rodgers, and the reason I say this because I think that they obviously both are supremely talented. I don't see the I will kill you to try to win a championship in either one of them. Nah. So you get in shape, right? Joel Embiid, the only reason he basically you complaining about the MVP, you basically telling me the reason why you got in shape and were able to stay healthy is you thought that this was going to get you the MVP. It wasn't about winning a championship, which should be the number one thing. It was about you. It was about you and your individual accomplishments. It wasn't never about championship. Like we talk about Aaron Rodgers, about who cares about his passer rating and things about that. Not about doing whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl, but about his narrative from his, not making himself look good. It's about him. So I little Aaron Rodgers from that standpoint. Not as accomplished, but even this year where he played a bunch of games and was as durable as he has been and got in shape, you're getting in shape to win an MVP, not so much win a championship.
Could not agree more. I cannot wait for Philly to be bounced out.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Please, yes, I've been ready for them to be out. Like they're kind of like just dragging along.
So much conversation for just
it is for a team that has not been past the second round since 2000.
Yes, nothing. You've done nothing. Like nothing.
Their best moment was probably their worst moment. The Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, with Kawhi called out on them.
Biggest moment.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Bring that on the wall somewhere.
You are 1,000% right. I'm so tired of Philadelphia. I'm so tired of hearing about them. I'm so tired of Philadelphia. As far as Dallas Phoenix goes, I actually think that, and I said this on the thread, one of our threads. I actually think that Dallas is going to win tonight. I think it's going to be a very close game. I just feel like Dallas they have no fear factor of Phoenix from that standpoint. We know Phoenix is clearly better, but they've been just so much. They've just been annoying to the Suns. Now again, the Suns should win. Like if you're the Suns, You want to get this series over with, get Chris Paul some rest, get your guys ready for the conference finals. But I got just a sneaky feeling. I can see a Luka 40 and 10 tonight. I really do. And them making like 15, 16 threes at home. What are your thoughts on tonight's game?
I do not disagree with you. My only feeling, this is what I'm going. Again, see, this to what you're saying. I only can go off of feeling because I don't necessarily trust that Phoenix has figured out how to beat Dallas, like how to for real put them away.
Well,
like
I mean, the bottom line is they know they have to look at their 3-point
everything like that. But this has definitely felt like a very home court series, right? Like it's felt like that very much, right? So you give them that advantage right there. And then I'm just trusting Chris Paul ability to command that this is a closeout game against a lesser team, talent-wise, and get this at home and get this done. That's what I'm trusting on ultimately. They're the better team at home, and they have a chance to close out. And a veteran who is
no, they're not. They're going to be at
the
game's
ball.
in Dallas. They're not going to be at home. The game's in Dallas.
Oh, I keep doing that. Yeah,
it's game 6. It's game 6. The game's in Dallas.
Because
Warriors. You got confused with the Warriors.
I'm trusting that. Let me just go. Closeout game. That's what I meant. Closeout game.
Closeout.
That is a closeout game. I'm trusting that Chris Paul better. That's what I'm trusting. But that was the flip side of it because Dallas at home, and this has felt like such a home court series. I don't have a lot of faith in that assessment. Let me say that.
Right.
For myself. So I absolutely can see Dallas winning tonight. I'm just choosing to trust in Chris Paul's ability to close them out to get that rest.
Speaking of Chris Paul, do we want to get into the fan situation Sunday?
I mean, we can.
So
my point on this is going to be fairly simple, though.
So for those of you that forgot about it, of course, you had a situation Mother's Day in Dallas where a fan was touching Chris Paul's mother. So Chris Paul's mother, and wife was there. Chris Paul's mother and wife was there along with their kids in the stands. This was during the game. Chris Paul had fouled out the game at this point. He was drunk. This guy looked like he could be anywhere from 17 to 20 years old. I really couldn't. Clearly he was young. So according to Chris Paul's mom, he kept tapping her on the shoulder and trying to get a hug. She recognized that he was drunk, and she basically was politely saying, please stop. And the mother, the thing about this that really pisses me off to no end is the fact that his mom was right there. And so you see, you have your son is drunk, and you're just going to allow your son to inappropriately touch another person.
Oh, real, you can't put that on a mom.
I mean,
that's a big boy. Like, you can't put that on a mom.
Okay. Yes, he's responsible, but what was his mom doing? So, like, mom was just sitting there. Like, what? I mean,
you would hope your son would behave better in front of their mom.
Yes. I would hope. But just in case he doesn't, I, as a mother, would need to intervene and as a mother seeing my son touch another mother.
That is an interesting take. Real. That's a very.
To be honest with you,
I'm going to go way simpler than this.
Go ahead.
There's not a man on this planet that doesn't understand this. This is the opposite of the Will Smith, Chris Rock thing.
Yeah.
Your wife, your mother felt physically uncomfortable.
Yes.
violence. It's just that simple.
No.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, no.
And there's not a man that doesn't understand that, and it's nothing else matters.
Nope.
It's just nothing else matters. It's just violence immediately.
Yep.
And all of us get it. And it would have been completely 100% justified.
Yep.
Thank goodness enough people stopped it. Because that should have absolutely been his reaction, and he would have been absolutely justified. That is my take on it. Pure and simple. You may not touch somebody's. You may not. You just may not.
It's just.
And if you do, that's the consequence.
It's just remarkable, man, about this, like the level of just privilege that you think that just because they won't acknowledge you as far as trying to have a conversation, or one of the stories was he wanted a hug.
Don't care.
No. I'm not just. I'm just saying.
I know. It just doesn't matter.
I'm like, what? I'm like,
okay.
In what world? Like, no, don't.
He's drunk. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Nobody cares about your motives.
No.
You don't put your hands on him.
You don't. No, you don't.
I don't care what you want.
Man.
You want all the things in the world.
I'm
you want an autograph, a hug, a kiss.
I'm telling you.
Take him on vacation. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
You don't put your hands on him. Period.
I'm telling you right now. One of these, like, and it's coming. One of these fans is going. You
don't touch somebody's mom. You just don't do it.
No, one of these fans. You don't touch anybody, but one of these fans is going to get fucked up. Like that. Like, to your point, Chris Paul would have been perfectly justified going in the stands and beating the shit out that dude. Period.
Oh, yes.
My wife and my mother, my wife with my kids right there. What?
Nah, you just don't. I mean, like, honestly, any one of those individually is enough. Any one of those individually is enough. Put them all together, it's enough. You just don't touch another man's family. You just don't do it.
And the saddest part about this whole situation is the response from Dallas, the Mavericks. So the guy gets banned. He got banned from the arena for 7 months, basically, until 2023. The 2022 is basically halfway over. I'm like, so you clearly don't give a fuck as an organization.
We know how Dallas.
But that's Mark Cuban. Yep.
We know how they do.
Know how y'all get down.
Yeah, there's not really a high accountability factor.
No.
It's not a thing they're interested in.
Nope. So shifting gears a bit, saw a very interesting story, of course, yesterday, a couple of days ago. Everybody's favorite quarterback, Tom Brady, has his post-retirement plan. He signs with Fox Sports. He signs with Fox Sports for 10 years, $375 million. He will work with Kevin Burkhardt whenever he decides to retire, and making him by far, and I mean by far, the highest paid broadcaster
you think?
in television history. Listen, man.
There aren't a lot of words for this.
When it's good, it's good. Like when you win it,
off the chart. These are numbers people didn't even imagine. Nobody imagines this. This is next level. This is just next level.
Let me ask you. So everybody is making moves in television right now with the football broadcasting. We've seen. I got a list here. The various teams, new broadcast teams. Let me pull this up real quick. So we see Monday Night Football. You have Aikman and Buck. Thursday Night Football, Al Michaels, Kurt Herbstreit. Sunday night, Collinsworth, Tirico. CBS, of course, will have Nance and Romo. And until Brady retires, it's going to be Burkhardt and probably Greg Olsen, more than likely. And when Brady retires, of course, Burkhardt and Brady. So we know from the history of Fox that Rupert Murdoch, that whole like that, Fox has money to burn. So it's like Yeah, these numbers look a lot to us, of course, but to Fox is like, okay, the NFL product is the most valuable sports product in the world.
375 million is a lot of money, bro.
It is a lot of money because the thing about it is, no, 375 million is like a shitload of money.
I hear you, but that's a lot.
Nobody
doesn't feel 375.
But I don't know. What I want to ask you is the Brady brand gotten this powerful? What, like, why?
So here's my breakdown of this.
Yeah, why?
And
why?
This has nothing to do with Brady brand or anything like that. Here's in my humble opinion. Man, this is not the conversation I necessarily wanted to have, but Brady is just that smart. He's just this good, and it's ridiculous, and it's disgusting, and it's but he just is. We did a podcast on this where I was 100% convinced that what he was angling for was some type of power ownership of the Buccaneers without putting his own money in there. That is ultimately what I thought this was about. Now with this, what I realized he was doing was he was leveraging his ownership of the Bucks with a 10-year, $375 million, leveraging it against Rupert Murdoch. They've been negotiating this. There's no way this hasn't been in the works for a long time. Now, I won't say that like Brady had this as a plan B initially, but here's what I do know. Brady's the most competitive MFer probably ever. He might have, he probably, no, there's no might about it. He did Jordan on this one. Because the others, at the very least, we know how good they are. That's why they got paid.
Right.
Now, does the money make sense with Romo and Buck and Aikman? It makes more sense with Buck and Aikman after Romo. Romo's didn't make any sense, but at the very least, it was like, all right, he did this, he's good. We have no idea what type of broadcaster Brady's going to be. Zero.
No.
And he got 10 for 375. And you know a big part of this negotiation was he had to be the highest paid.
Of course.
And he had to be the highest paid by a mile.
Yes.
So that no one else, like this is going to put a kibosh on this. Nobody's getting $400 million. There's nobody else.
No.
That's good. But so he did this to a point where no one could. This can't be one up in a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. This can't be one up. The next person that gets this, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes when he retires, maybe. Who knows? I don't think this is ever being surpassed. I think this is the jump to shark moment. This is absolutely this is off the charts. Like I said, this is not even imaginable. And then the flip side of this is when I ask myself, do I really want to bet against Brady being the best player NFL broadcaster ever? Do I want to bet against that, knowing him and knowing how competitive he is to everything? And I don't want to do it.
No.
I don't want to do it. So that's what I mean. If the Brady brand is I'm going to be the best at everything all the time because I'm crazy and I'm built like that, if that's his brand, then absolutely. And then can I say that's a bad bet? No. I actually don't know how this works out financially for Fox. How do they get this $375 million back? Like, even if he becomes the greatest football broadcaster of all time, let's just give him the greatest football broadcaster of all time over everybody. Is that worth $375 million?
Are you really asking that question?
No, I'm not. I'm not really. I'm asking rhetorical questions.
Okay.
So I'm just like, even if he is that, this still doesn't make sense. You just chalk it up to Brady's just the best at everything. And you just have to eat it and move on with your life. Because otherwise you're gonna be angry for a while. Brady gets the bag. Boy, did he get a bag. This bag is psychotic. This man is going to get $375 million for announcing football games. I can't. I have no words for this. I legit have no words for this.
Here's the thing. Everybody, there were no losers on this. Everybody won. Everybody won in terms of Fox and Brady. Everybody won because, first of all, we know this as football consumers. It doesn't matter who's in the booth. The ratings are going to be insane regardless. So let's say Brady sucks. Yeah, you're going to have some people crack some jokes and the internet going to laugh, whatever.
We are.
Those jokes will be here. But in terms of financially, it's not going to have zero impact on Fox at all. The NFL is only going to get more popular. I mean, considering the off season that we just witnessed, considering what's coming, what this 18-game schedule is coming, the ratings are only going to go up higher. It's like there's no one. There are no losers here. Zero. None. Unless maybe I should say no. Unless you're Troy Aikman. Unless you're Troy Aikman or Tony Romo, but you're still making a ton of money to talk football. So
I actually think Troy Aikman could take this over Tony Romo.
Yeah. Because at least Brady's the greatest of all time. Romo,
exactly.
Yeah. Aikman like I'm better.
Romo
than
didn't win a Super Bowl.
Aikman can handle this, but much better. Yes, much better. Yeah, much better. But there are
even still, it's like, yo, I've been doing this for 20 years. This dude hasn't broadcast one game. Nothing.
Yo, but think about this, Rob.
Unless he's being interviewed.
What did we just talk about last week about with the new media? This is the new media, man. This is
and he's never being interviewed because he's always in the championship games.
Yeah,
he's never in the booth chilling.
But this is
early exit out of the playoffs. So no, this is out of control.
Here's the thing. This is what we talked about last week with Draymond and with Draymond Green and in terms of the new media and things about a couple of weeks ago. This falls right in line with that. This is where we're at. We're here. Like what you said a couple last week about it in terms of the new media and how things are moving. This is what it is.
The thought that just keeps going through my mind, real. The rest of us have had the worst 2 years of our lives. And Brady keeps on winning. It's not fair. It's just not fair. It just isn't. It just flat out isn't fair. I'm going to be the whiny baby. It just isn't fair. He gets all the things.
There was.
What has he done? He get all the things, all of them. Everything.
Who was that show? Okay. You remember that show back in the day? I don't know. Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't rename that shit. Tom Brady can't lose.
I cannot lose. He just can't.
He can't. It's impossible. It's impossible.
We've all had the worst 2 years of our lives. Not Tom Brady.
Not Tom Brady. No. Not Tom Brady. No.
Yeah,
won a Super Bowl and getting
$35
million a year.
I can't.
After the career is over. After when I decide to retire. So. Yeah, man. Look, as much as when I first heard about it, as much as how annoyed I was about it, I ultimately had to just be like, yo, respect. At some point, it's like, yo, man, what can I say? What can you say? What can you say? But like, damn. I didn't see this shit coming. I did not see this.
This wasn't imaginable.
I did not see this.
This wasn't in anybody's imagination.
No. Yeah. Like I said, Brady, there's no losers here. Even if he is the worst broadcaster ever, he's still going to get his money. He's still going to get his money. And it's still, in my hatred of Tom Brady would love to see if he was so bad that he quit. That would be my dream scenario in terms of my hatred of Tom Brady.
That he's Roma. I mean, not Roma. What you would call him? The tight end. Witten. That he's Witten.
Yeah. Exactly. Witten.
That would be fantastic. That would be marvelous. I would not be mad at that. That would be marvelous.
Bad, but
that would be marvelous.
But listen, I don't. But I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be one of the greats ever, but I'm telling you, he's not gonna be bad because
No,
I
he's
think
not gonna suck.
he's not gonna
No,
be bad
he's
because
not. I can't.
now I'm thinking about how he's been moving the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. You see the
Nope.
time versus time, the Facebook shit. Like he's kind of been prepping himself for this shit. Like I said, this dude's a chess master. He's a chess master. He sees shit like years ahead before it happens. Like him and LeBron are similar from that standpoint. Like you see LeBron make a business move, be like, where did that come from? And then you find out that it was planned 7 years ago. So like these dudes are different. They think differently from that standpoint in terms of marketing, branding, and just in terms of life moves. Like they plan, like that's what makes them who they are. And that's why they're so damn successful at whatever. Like LeBron on the court and off the court. So he has been getting himself ready, I'm sure, to be a broadcaster. Like I said, with some of the audio stuff that he was doing. He just like even I thought think about now. I should know this because I work at the place. He has a podcast at Sirius. We're paying him. Sirius, so he's making money from everybody. Sirius XM is paying him to do a weekly podcast. So this media thing. He's been kind of he's light years ahead of us from that standpoint in terms of what he was trying to do.
This is light years ahead.
This is light years.
This is light years.
Yeah,
ahead.
not Golden State. This is actually light years ahead.
Not a confluence of events that just benefit you at the same time.
Right.
Like,
no, this is the Facebook thing, the podcast. So yeah, hey, look, can't lose, man. This dude cannot lose. And I mean, like I said, you can criticize him. You want to criticize Fox and criticize him. Be my guest, whatever. I don't. Yes, sure. Like there's no person that would not make this move. There's nobody would not do this. There's no human being that wouldn't make this move. If they, especially if they didn't have a post-playing plan per se.
I'm going to say this
in terms
right
of coaching and some shit like that.
If Brady beats the Bills in the playoffs, you will not hear from me for a while. I will not be able to handle that emotion.
That's the final vote.
I won't. That's it. That's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap on Saps fandom. I don't know how I'll recover from that. I truly don't. So I just want him to go away. That's it. That's it. Go to the booth. Just don't be a danger to my football team anymore. I just want him to go away. That's it. That's it. It's so simple. Get all your money. I don't care. Just go away. Just get away. Get away.
I have some breaking news.
Oh.
I have some breaking news. Week 1 opening Thursday night game.
Got it. Who is it?
Buffalo.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hell. Yep.
Let's go.
Buffalo at the Rams.
Right off the rip.
Thursday, September 8th. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Deservedly.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it.
There we go.
Love it.
There we go. Right off the rip.
Right off the jump.
My thing with so now we here. So I'm talking now. My team, my deal with my team is like in order for me to be in that space where I'm 100% confident on our Super Bowl championship, I need to see the consistency throughout the year. I want the smoke. I want all the smoke.
Yep.
We got to prove it.
Yep.
At every step. That Pittsburgh game at the beginning of last year hurt.
Yep.
You're on national TV. Against the Rams, Branners, all the chips are against you.
Ring night. Yep.
Get that big.
You can't ask for a
Get
better
that
opening.
No. Start from game. Like I want to see that locked in focus.
Yep.
That was against the Patriots.
Week one. Week one.
Let's
week
go.
One. Yep.
And never let go.
Nope.
Never let go. So
nope.
I cannot wait to see the rest of the schedule as well because I want it all. I was nervous about primetime game a couple years. I want it all now. Give it all. I want all the pressure, all the smoke. That will let me know this team is ready for a Super Bowl championship. Not a getting to the Super Bowl. I've been there. I want to check.
No.
I want to check.
Yeah, no, you
I want
got
to check.
there. You've gotten there a few times. You got.
I want to go in that game feeling confident.
Yeah, that we're gonna. That yes, you want to go in that game feeling like not feeling like we can win, feeling like we're going to win. That's what
exactly.
That's what you want.
Exactly. And the
Period.
thing that will give me that is consistency against good teams all throughout the year.
Yep.
No peeking in week 5 and bullshit like that.
No.
Let's go. Bob Milligan. Yo, let's go. Let's get it. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Let's go.
Man, that's gonna be
That makes me very happy.
No,
that made me very happy.
That's a big time. That's
good stuff.
That's
and that's legit.
Game.
Like that's
perfect. That's a perfect opening week, opening Thursday.
I'm very happy to hear that. That makes me very happy.
We were talking about the MVP. The biggest disappointment I had the NBA MVP conversation. So forget about who won, whatever. That's neither here nor there. It's just about like I follow basketball very closely, of course, NBA from year round, especially when the season starts. The MVP conversation, in essence, starts in fucking November, and I just don't see like no other team sport talks about the MVP over the course of the season as much as the NBA does. Yeah. And I now, as in comparison to the other 3 major sports, the NBA is a star-driven individual league from that standpoint. I get it. It's about the stars. They want to market their stars, and you know from that standpoint. But this is not even about marketing. This is about the media constantly, week after week, discussing this shit. And I think it's gotten to a point to where, again, I don't need to be hearing about who's the MVP November 20th or December 11th or January 20th, 15th. Case in point, in December, you couldn't tell anybody that Steph Curry wasn't going to be unanimous MVP. You couldn't tell, like it was set in stone. Golden State's back. Even though Steph Curry wasn't even having a great season per se, he put up good numbers, but by his standards, it's not even one of his 5 best seasons, to be honest with you. But again, the narrative, Golden State's back, Steph Curry's the best player, blah blah, blah, so on and so on. But I just feel like the award would be better if I didn't have to hear about it every fucking week of the NBA season. The NBA is a marathon.
Can't treat it like football.
No, you can't.
That's the problem. You're absolutely right. It's a marathon.
So realistically, the MVP conversation shouldn't begin until I would say February.
That would be great if there was like a for real moratorium. Like if there was just like we're not discussing MVP until at least 45 games are being played, right? Like there is like kind of like, what is it with college football when the power rankings come out? Is that
come out like 8? October? Yep. Yep.
We can't even start having this conversation until 45 games in or 40 games in, whatever it is.
So, and here's the thing that pisses me off about the media.
That's what Player of the Week awards are for. Player of the Month.
They have those. They have Player of the Month. Yes, they have Player of the Month awards. They have Player of the Week. Yes, they have those.
Absolutely. Awards. That's what that is. So, yeah, he was balling out for these 4 games. Absolutely.
If I had an MVP vote, right, and if I was voting on all these awards, of course I would be monitoring the shit by month. Like I would literally probably have my own process of like, okay, who's the MVP this month? Who's the MVP that month? That's different because I'm taking my vote seriously. And doing my best to do my part and do these players justice. That doesn't mean I have to fucking talk about it every single day. And I heard so they were talking about after the award, after it was announced, they were like, a couple people had said Embiid, like Tim Legler, Stephen A. Smith said, yeah, we had Embiid, and Jokic did nothing to catch Embiid. So basically, you had Embiid for basically like for the entire season. I'm like, so that shit should not happen. That would piss me off as a player. Like, so there was no way that you were not going to vote for Joel Embiid, basically, when you say that. I had Embiid, like Tim Legler basically said, I had Embiid for the most of the season. I'm like, okay, so you didn't watch the entire season? You basically telling me you basically had Embiid in February or in March. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like that. Like have it. I think a lot of these guys, some of these media members have the shit premeditated in terms of who they're gonna vote for. Now again, I think Jokic should have won, but
Well,
like, go ahead.
here's the problem. We're conflating two things. We're conflating best player and best season.
Right.
Now, there was a time when the best player meant you would have a championship season. But that's why I keep pointing back to that Steve Nash time period, because it was clear he was not the best player in the league.
Right.
He was having a fantastic season.
Right. On a team that had
Kobe
the best
and Shaq
record.
were better.
Yes.
Nobody doubted that.
Right.
And so, and then it turned into, we can only give certain people the MVP so many times.
Yes.
I mean, that was their Jordan, but then that got reoccurring with like LeBron and different people like that. It's just like, what are we even talking about anymore? Right. And so, again, that's why I asked, if the MVP is a true regular season award, then we're talking about the best season.
Right.
Not the best player.
Right.
And so I think it's like, because we're clumping those together, that's where the confusion comes in. And to be quite honest, Real, what drives television, what drives views, what drives discussion, everything are conversations exactly like this. So nobody actually wants to get rid of this conversation.
No. Oh, no, it's not going anywhere.
They want the water. No, here's what I'm saying. It's intentionally muddy in order to drive this conversation.
Yep.
So there will be no clear anything.
No.
In this. As a matter of fact, it's actually better when it is split. When the best, when the person with the best season isn't the best player, because that drives more conversation. And more conversation means more views, more viewerships. And so for our purposes, it's just like, it is such a disappointment, because we actually want to have the real conversation. And other people don't want to have a real conversation. Who's the best player in the league? Let's drill that down. But if we do that, then people can't say insane stuff about how Harden's the greatest X, Y, and Z, and Kyrie's the greatest X, Y, and Z at this point, and now B's this the greatest this, and this the greatest da. It just would literally just come simply down to Durant and Giannis. And everybody else can get out the way.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So it's a disappointment for everything that you said. To me, it's a disappointment because I actually want to have a real conversation about who's the best player. Who is the most valuable player in the league? That's the conversation I want to have, and that's not what I get to hear. So I can't agree with you. Such a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we were growing up, it was best player on the best team. It was pretty much clear cut, and you would have an occasional, discrepancy. Like, I know for a fact the Bulls had the best record in '97, but Karl Malone won. But to your point, that was Jordan fatigue. It became a narrative award. I think it changed with Russell Westbrook because of the triple-double, even though that year, if you look at that year.
I remember that year.
Yeah, if you look at that year, the MVP probably should have been Kawhi. If we're doing great player, two-way player on a team that had a great record. Like, they won 60 games that year. Kawhi was in his peak as far as dominant defensive player, and he averaged like 25 that year. So he probably should have won it based on that. But Kawhi is, like I said, he's a robot. He's not like Westbrook. Is the personality, the triple-double. So that was the best.
The triple-double stat jumps off.
Triple-double, yes, the triple-double.
So
despite the fact that, again, they were a 7 seed that year, or 6 or 7 seed. So again, that it changed the narrative. I think it became a narrative award in like 2017, like strictly narrative. From that standpoint.
I like the Dirk season as a narrative season.
You mean the Dirk MVP season? I don't think. I mean, Dirk was. Yeah, Dirk was the best. I mean, Dirk was like they were on that team won like 6, 7 games. I still that year they were that was still the time I think the best player on best team because he was the best player on the best team and the best regular season team. That team won 67 games coming off finals. If you remember, they 2007, 2006 they lost to Miami in 6 games, and then they came the next year. Everybody thought they didn't want to win a championship in 2007, and they flamed out, of course, against Golden State. But that year, they flamed, big time. The We Believe.
What did Dirk won up until that point in time?
No, Dirk hadn't won. He hadn't won the MVP up until, but no.
I'm talking about how many champions, how many.
He hadn't won nothing. No, he hadn't won anything.
That's what I'm talking about. Again, best player. Did anybody think Dirk was the best player in basketball?
In the basketball, no.
That's what I'm talking about. Again,
right, gotcha.
We're talking about regular, like who had the best season versus who's the best player.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And this is the conversation. It always is the conversation. And I get it. I'm just saying, I think the MVP award has been a narrative long before 2017. I think, again, I'm going to Steve Nash. That was the inflection point for me. Because it was so clear, especially the second one. Because the first one was about let's not give it to Shaq because he's too dominant.
Right.
The second one was just like, what is happening? Why is he getting the MVP? Because we don't want to give it again to Shaq or Kobe. What? Why? Yeah. So that was all narrative driven. Because you had to have a narrative to justify why. Yeah. Because none of us believe that. None of us believe that.
Yeah, nobody ever believed that Steve Nash was the
back to back. Steve Nash?
Yeah,
no. No, nobody was buying that.
No, yeah, yeah, and yeah.
So I get it's just we conflate it, and it's good for the conversation. It is what it is, but for those of us that actually want to have a real conversation, it's super disappointing. It's not a conversation I partake in.
Now, a lot of people are complaining. Let me get your thoughts.
Championships still mean everything.
Yes, a lot of people are complaining about the timing of it. Do you have a problem with the timing of the MVP? Like the time.
Again, are we saying regular season?
No, I'm saying, do you have a problem with it given the timing that when it comes out? Like it came out.
Are we saying regular season? If we're saying regular season, I think you want it as close to the regular season as possible.
So by that you wanted to announce like as soon as the regular season is over.
You want it as close to the regular season in as possible.
Right. Got you. So you agree with that? The time
I wouldn't go past first. Yeah, I would
not go past the first round.
If I'm in charge of everything, I wouldn't want that to go. I wouldn't want that announcement to go past first round.
Got you.
Because especially in the modern area, it's most likely the MVP sitting on the bench. I mean, sitting at home watching.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's changed too compared to when we was growing up. So when we was growing up, like Magic, Jordan, Birds, even when Barkley won his, those guys were making it deep into the playoffs for the most part. Like your MVPs made it probably to the conference, either winning championships or making it to, at worst, the conference finals. So that's been a huge shift as well.
MVPs were the icing on the cake. That was legacy. After you won, like it was not after. It is in the conversation with your championship, right? Like you have X amount of titles and X amount of MVPs. That's what then started to differentiate. You could start to differentiate a little bit in the argument realm of the greatest of the greats, right? Like that's where you could be a divider. But in the actual season, I don't remember a lot of people talking about this, to be honest with you.
No.
We didn't grow up with this conversation.
No, we didn't.
It was about.
I mean, it's obviously a different world in terms of like social media and all the talk shows, all that. But even as a sports fan, having a conversation, I definitely wasn't having conversations arguing over who should be MVP. Like with my friends, I wasn't. I just no. It was like, to your point, who's going to win a championship?
Who's the greatest player of all time? Who's the best player?
Who's the best player? Who's going to win a championship? That was the conversation. To your point. Like, yeah, those were the arguments that we got into with our friends.
Who's the greatest player of all time? And it started with rings. And when we were counting rings back in the old day, it was like, oh, you were the best player on the team. The reason the team won the championship is because of you.
Right.
And not you and 30 of your friends.
And that's why, and it pisses me off. Again, I have a personal bias towards this, but it pisses me off when people compare Kobe to the all-time to greats, to the other all-time greats, and they say, well, Kobe only has one MVP. That pisses me off because I'm like,
because that era switch, yeah.
I was like, yes, he has only one MVP, but we know Kobe Bryant was clearly the best player for about a 6 or 7 year period before LeBron came along, clearly. So and of course won the championship. So like we not that the only one that when you start counting MVPs. And when you start, that pisses me off when
it makes no sense that Nash has 2 MVPs and Kobe has 1.
Oh, no, hold on this. Not only Nash, but fucking Karl Malone has 2 MVPs.
It makes no sense. It just makes
with no rings. They have these dudes. Think about this. I've been on this for years. Karl Malone and Steve Nash have double the MVPs combined if you compare them than Kobe and Shaq.
It makes no sense. It just makes no sense.
What?
That makes no sense. It makes no sense. It fundamentally makes no sense.
Yeah.
At all.
So that's why I don't take the MVP serious from that standpoint when I think about all-time greats. It's a nice award and people talk about it, but when I think of the top, the best of the best, I don't even consider the MVP. I honestly don't care about the MVP, to be honest with you. I don't.
I can see Jokic's career coming a mile away. He likes being a man in Denver, and that's where he will stay. The man in Denver.
Well, he's about to get this $260 million contract.
Yeah, how about this hot take? Jokic will definitely have more MVPs than he have championships. How about that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
What are we even doing here?
100%. I mean, listen, he's going to run into the same treatment as Giannis as far as the MVP fatigue. Like, people don't want to give, for whatever reason, people don't want to give Giannis MVPs no more. Nobody's going to, after this season, nobody's going to.
Because he's actually the best player now.
Yes, because he's right. Now it actually makes more sense.
Now it's like, we can't give it to him. He's actually the best player.
But yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. Jokic will definitely have more MVPs than championships. Yes. I think Luka will have more championships than MVP. I mean, more MVPs than championships. To be honest with you,
I agree with that as well.
The only thing that's keeping Luka, the only thing that's keeping Luka away from the only thing that's keeping Luka from winning MVP now is the fact that he comes into the season out of shape every year. If he actually came into the season in shape, he would get off to a regular start, and he probably would be MVP next year if he comes like.
Think about that statement you just said. If he comes to season in shape, he could be an MVP. I don't want that as my representative.
Let me tell you something.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
That is
give Giannis all the MVP.
No. Hold on. That is the difference. That's why Luka is not Giannis, because we don't we will never make that statement about Giannis.
Sure won't.
That's the next step for Luka, to be actually in top condition when the season starts. Like,
it would be nice.
It'd be nice.
No, it'd be nice. It would be nice.
It would be.
That'd be nice to do. It would be.
Not playing your way into shape during the season. Yeah, So that's why Giannis is Giannis. Like, we never had that conversation about Giannis. We never had that conversation about LeBron, Kobe. We never like that. That's not even.
No, those aren't conversations.
We don't have those conversations about those top players like that. Those players are of that ilk. That's not a conversation. That's just not. And but yeah, the bottom line overall, like the bottom line is, the MVP conversation is some shit, and I don't really care for. I don't care for the NBA MVP award. It's not important to me personally. That's the bottom line. Like, you'll have other people in the NBA make it out to be some big thing. In terms of how I view basketball, the NBA MVP is like, okay, nice. That's the bottom line from my standpoint for the MVP. Before I let you go, what is your overall sense of the NBA playoffs? Like from when it
I'm having a
started
ball.
versus where
I'm
we
having
at
a
now?
ball. I'm having a ball. I will absolutely say, I have just thoroughly enjoyed the Celtics, Brooklyn Celtics, Milwaukee. Like that has been my bread and butter. this playoffs. I've enjoyed that so very, very much. The West, less so. The John Morant, I was very much looking forward to the series with John Morant, so that definitely dampened it.
Right.
And there's just been weird wonkiness in the West. The West
Yeah.
has been very emotional and like a lot of other stuff that's just like, what? No, I don't care about any of this. So I am very much anticipating the Western Conference Finals. I think I'm anticipating the Western Conference Finals more than I'm anticipating the Eastern Conference Finals because, like you, I believe we're watching the Eastern Conference Finals right now.
We are watching the Eastern Conference Finals for sure.
So, yeah. But I absolutely don't think we're watching the Western Conference Finals in any two series. No. So I will be very engaged in the Phoenix Warriors series. I do think the Warriors are going to win. And so I'm very much looking forward. I'm very much looking forward to that. And then the championship game will be amazing no matter what. Yeah. Like, I mean, I will be thoroughly invested in the championship series no matter what. So all told, storyline, different things that were coming into the season. I've been much less vested in the West than the East, but overall, I've enjoyed the playoffs tremendously.
Yeah, this this Milwaukee Boston Classic, Giannis been the best player. The Memphis Grizzlies, I think I've been so impressed with just their franchise, the how they compete, and I'm convinced after watching this series that all they need to do is just get the reps. I don't even think they need another all-star, to be honest with you. I think that if I'm looking into the offseason, I know the season's not over with, but I'm looking to their crystal ball, I would let those guys develop. I would add like a veteran presence. You can never have enough veterans who maybe have won a championship or have been in the finals, something like that. Like Phoenix added Jay Crowder last year, and we saw, Miami did it this year with PJ Tucker. Somebody better than PJ Tucker, by the way. But yeah, Memphis is right there. They're actually closer than I thought they were in terms of being a championship team, but they really are right there, and they're going to be a major problem.
But that's the point of the playoffs. You prove it now. You're absolutely right. I did not have Memphis on my radar like this. That's the point of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're right there. Just keep John
Golden
healthy.
State and Cleveland let go of that stranglehold.
Right.
That was the best thing for the league.
Yes.
Because now just a flood of new, fresh, young blood who are not just about like, let's slug it through the regular season. So we can, you're getting a look at a lot of different superstars, and you're starting to get, especially now, you're starting to get a sense of who really has a taste for this, right? Like Devin Booker is going to live this life. He's going to live this life.
Yeah.
Giannis, of course, lives this life, right? It's yet to see Tatum, Brown, where y'all at in this life. And it'll be fascinating to see next year if John Morant, he had the taste last year and he said, nope, I want more of this. And then kept going. Where Trae Young said, I had a taste of this, and he just kind of was like, I like the fame and celebrity I'm getting off that taste. And up in the level. So it'll be interesting to see what will make this continuously fascinating, who continues to evolve, and then what's the next team that wants to get into this conversation.
Right.
So this is a very healthy space for the NBA to be in.
Yeah. Now all you have to do is just get your star players to stay on the court, get on the court.
Wow. Yeah,
That's, you know,
that is
that's it. That's it. That's all. That's it.
Deal. We talking playoffs. That's why I wait for the playoffs.
Yep. Oh. All right, man. That's going to be. We think we covered everything. Certainly looking forward to the conference finals, and to the rest of this
Let's go
Milwaukee.
Buffalo in an NBA
Boston.
NBA podcast. Let's go.
Yeah, above the Buffalo Bills made it to the podcast.
Let's go.
We're gonna I told Rob this offline. We're gonna save the Kendrick stuff for next week because first of all I can't wait till 12:01 tonight. I know you'll be asleep, but till the album drops. I mean
I'll listen to it this morning.
Yeah, that's fine. This will be the most anticipated album since the last Kendrick album.
There you go. That's how it works.
That's how hip hop works. That's how the culture works. Like this dude moves culture like nobody else. So we will save that conversation about the video and the album, and the album in particular, because that video is not going to be on his album. He never puts those opening songs that he drops before on the album, actual album, the Hearts. He never puts those on the album. But the album will be out, of course, early this morning, and we will save that conversation because I had certainly a lot of stuff. Not so much. I mean, I'm certainly going to have a lot of stuff on the album. I just have a lot of things on Kendrick Lamar in general. All right, Mr. Sapp, thanks for joining us.
All right, sir.
I will see you next time.
All right, have a good one.
That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Thanks to, as always, Rob Sapp for joining the podcast. We will be back next week. Looking forward to it. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. So long.